Welcome everyone to the Playlist Shuffle podcast. It is your boy Jay Malley, aka Jeremiah Moss, coming to you from the alley, coming to you with the music and film and everything entertaining. I'm telling you, we've had such a long ride for the past year, just talk about music and film, and then all of a sudden we have guests coming in, instrumentalists, artists, and now we have a bona fide filmmaker in the house. I'm telling y'all, this is a big episode, and for those of y'all coming in, welcome. I wanted to do something special for y'all. I know a lot of the viewers seem to be hungry in the music or the film business, and so I want to take this a time for this interview for our Premiere Lounge Talk segment to have people come join live at a certain point in the interview for one take go. And what that is you come on in, you click to join live, and I let you in one at a time, maybe two people, and you come in, you introduce yourself, and you ask a question for our guest of the night or myself, or you have a comment, and you get your response. You appreciate your response, and then go. So that's what I'm doing. I want people to have this opportunity to have any questions and have the responses that they need. Before we get right into it, I just want to remind y'all that this is season 3 of the Playlist Shuffle podcast, where we talk nothing but Attack on Titan music. It's one of my favorite, and so be sure to be on the lookout for new episodes coming in. We have already had a new episode drop this past Friday. It was very emotional, very thrilling, and you know I'm going to be all up on that in the very next episode. But without further ado, I'm going to bring in our guest of the night. He has a very stacked credentials. I'm talking about as a director, as a music supervisor, a percussionist, screenwriter, actor, you name it. He's done just about everything. But who am I to say it? I'm going to just bring him in and he'll tell you all about it. So without further ado, let's welcome in Mr. Terence Rosemore. Yep, that's better. Much better.
I'm a bit, and look, all the stuff I've done, I'm a bit technically challenged. So.
Oh, you're good. You're good. I mean, you've been messing with the big cameras, so. Well, like I said, you've had so much credentials, and thank you again for coming in on the Playlist Shuffle podcast. We've been trying to get a date for you to come in, because I just knew, just talking to you on the phone and hearing your passion over the phone, I knew I had to get you on the phone, on screen, on camera for everyone to see. And just so you can introduce yourself and tell about what you've done over the past years and the projects that you participated in, and let everyone know how through your perspective, how you lived through it.
Oh, boy, Willie. How you doing, man? I'm sorry. I'm seeing my people. I'm shouting out.
Oh, no, you're good. You're good. I'm glad to see your people coming in.
Right on, man. So my name is Terence Rosemore, and I'm a Leo. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, but I think I call myself a storyteller. I started off as an actor, and then I started writing theater. And then I went on to act in film, and then myself and my right partner, C.L. Taylor, we created one of the first web series in 2006 called Refugees. Same time, we also created our own streaming network called RefugeeFilms.tv before Netflix. You know, like I said, man, I've done everything. I've been a professional musician, worked on a group called Soul Remedy. I had my own band called Funk Family Collective, where I played drums, percussion. We were like the Roots with, well, we had a female singer instead of a rapper. We had our time in the 90s. My man Willie Dynamite, he was, hey, what's up, B? He was a part of our collective, but I've been blessed, man. Over 30 years, I've been able to tell stories through art, film, music, everything that I've been interested in, I've gotten an opportunity to make a living at it. So that's a blessing.
Right on, and I love hearing the story of like just hearing another instrumentalist story because I'm an instrumentalist myself. I've played like the bongos, bass, piano, a little bit of keyboard, and I spent 11 years playing clarinet in middle school and high school band.
Right.
And so just going through all those stage performances through almost like 12 years, I tell people I'm kind of retired now because
Right.
my dream ain't really be touring and playing around the country or the world, but it's very nice to hear the perspective of another instrumentalist as well. And being another filmmaker, you know, I've gone to school in Full Sail University for my master's in film, and I knew I wanted to be combining music and film together. I just didn't know what it was or like what it was called really.
Right.
And then all of a sudden music supervisor came up in the conversation in one of my classes, and I was just like, can you elaborate on that? Because I've seen it on the end credits, but I don't really know how it goes. And he was just a sound engineer, so he just talked about how he communicated with that department. And so I just spent, you know, years, maybe like 3 years, catching up on the path and on the business side of things. And so it's really just going to California, taking all those trips and networking. And so this is a huge opportunity, I say, for not just personally me, but everybody watching on the show, and just getting together and have a safe space within the community to just talk and have conversations of our stories and stuff like that.
Absolutely. I'm sorry, man. I see people. Man, Brian and Wallaceberry, man. Speaking of music, me and this brother, we we used to be rappers back in like like in the early '80s, man. But anyway, my heart is lifted up with CNP. I see someone who bought some of my art. I got one of my pieces behind me right now.
Oh, nice. No, this is a community. This is a space for everyone to get involved and participate and just get in the chat. I already said that I'm going to have people maybe come in every now and then to do a one take, go have questions or anything like that or comments. But let's get right into it. So
yes, sir.
I don't know if you just name just a couple of projects that you on. I would read your IMDb, but it will take me like, I don't know, maybe a week to read every bit of it.
I tell you what, I try to give you the highlights. I'm in Guardians of the Galaxy Part 2 and Part 3. I can now say it because James Gunn announced it a couple of days ago.
Shout out.
I'm in Outer Banks, which is a Netflix show. I did an episode of Atlanta with Donald Glover. I was a true detective. One of my first speaking roles was in Candyman Part 2. That's how far I go back in 1994. That actually was my first speaking role in a film, Candyman Part 2. So yeah, man, I see, hey, Vonda, it's crazy, man, because I'm talking to you, and then I see people that I know that I haven't talked to or seen popping up, showing love, man. But yeah, man. So I've directed a feature film called Different Worlds, and that's where I got my music supervisor credit, mostly because we had a low budget. Actually, pretty much almost had no budget, so I had no choice. I had to do it, and so I learned a lot about that process. From taking that role on during the post-production part of editing the film. But again, man, all of it is storytelling, bro.
Right.
And so I'm blessed. Film is the one thing that my art, my music, my acting, my writing, my directing, my producing all came together in the film that we did, which is on Tubi, shameless plug, for free, called Different Worlds. And the thing I'm most proud of, I'm sorry, man, I'm right next to the train, that's the Amtrak.
I hear you good.
But that's I'm so proud of that project, man, because I had such a small crew, and I got to all my music friends, all my musician friends, man. I got to put their music in it, and it wasn't just because they're my friends. It's like every song was perfect. A good buddy of mine, Don Bartholomew, his father is Dave Bartholomew, who produced and wrote all of Fats Domino's biggest hits. He came, his music is in. He came to the screen and he said, T, you were the music supervisor? I said, yeah. He said, bro, you did a damn good job. And that meant a lot because this brother is like the real deal. So
nice. And I'm currently taking on a role for the first time as music supervisor, and I work my way towards that. But just hearing how you're being proud and all that stuff, I want to ask, because I typically ask people, creatives mainly, when's the first time you realized that you belonged in either music or film or both?
It might have been separately. As a musician, I had been playing drums probably for professionally for about 5 years. The guy named Carl LeBlanc, who is a New Orleans guitar player. Can we curse on this show?
Yeah, go ahead.
I got to tell you what Carl said. We were in France in 1994. Mm-hmm. We were doing a play. We were there for like 3 or 4 months. And I was playing percussion and also acting. And Carl, his room was next to mine. We were in Paris. And he checked me one day. He said, hey, man, on my card, I had my name and I had actor, musician, and producer or something. And he checked me about having musician on my card because I'm not a trained, I was never formally trained in music or anything like that. And he was like, yo, man, you know how much time people put in to earn of a musician. And I was telling him, like, man, just market. I mean, I might get you. He said, man, I don't care. He was back. And he shocked me, man, because he's my boy, man. We was
right.
So about 4 or 5 years later, at a birthday party, his band was playing, and they called me to come sit in on drums. And I sat in for about 3 songs, and then the band took a break. And then as we took a break, we went outside, he came up to me and said, now you're an MFing drummer. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Now you're an MFing drummer. He said, all you got to do is work on your dynamics. And then I asked the cat next to me, I said, hey, man, what is dynamics? What that mean? But that, coming from, when cats in the game give you props, and as an actor, I think it was, I was doing a movie called Heaven's Prisoner with Alec Baldwin. And I think they ended up cutting my scene out of the movie. But after we finished, the whole while we shoot, man, Alec was like an alpha. That's what I saw. I was like, okay, this captain, he came in. You know how these cats come, bro.
Right.
He came in doing his thing, and I'm just doing my thing. So after we wrapped, he said, hey, man, you from LA? I said, no, I'm from New Orleans. He said, really? He said, good stuff. And then he walked off. And so what that told me at the time, he was an A-list actor. So when he said, yo, that was his way of, a lot of times as artists, especially as actors, I think as a musician, any night of the week, you can go play somewhere. As actors, we've got to go through rehearsal, we've got to audition, and we're not on stage or on screen every night, unless you're on, you're fortunate to be on a TV show or something like that. But I think as actors, we're always looking for validation. And, we want to know, is that good enough? Is that what you wanted? And good directors know that, so they'll say, excellent, good stuff. They'll give you feedback. But a lot of times when you're working with A-list folks, and I'm talking about top of the top, when they do this, hey man, good stuff. That might be the only 2 words they tell you outside of that scene. That makes me stand 100, because that's what you want, man. You want your peers.
Right.
Your family, your mama, your auntie, they're going to always love you and tell you did a good job or whatever. But when those alphas, those I call them eagles. When those cats, they're not going to use tender words. They're going to say, hey man, good stuff. And then they out. And so that's what keep, sometimes that's all you got to keep you going to the next gig, man. That such and such said, they gave you validation, which adds to your confidence, and then you're like, okay, I could do this. So that was the two things that made me. I know it was a long answer.
No. It's good. It's good because I feel you on the validation part because I agree. Creatives, especially if you're like composing a song or anything like that, you know, you're trying to not second guess yourself because you always beat yourself to it, especially when you release it and you just be like, oh man, you listen to it, it's like maybe I should have done that, I should have done this.
Right.
Hey man, you like how I did that? And you try to explain it to him, and it's just like it brings so much headache to you. And even when I was on campus on my bachelor's, I was performing on stage, playing the bongos. I'm in a rock band, mind you. Ain't a lot of bongos I hear in rock bands. And we were going through each instrumentalist for their solos, and it was time for my solo. And you know, I'm a good improviser, and you know how musicians, they always give you that stank face, go like,
Yeah.
that's how you know it's like that validation right there. And as soon as I seen that from my bandmates and some of the crowd in front of me, I was like, all right, I feel more relaxed, and you know, I feel more comfortable now on stage because that's just me coming off after playing years of clarinet. This is my first time playing, you know, another instrument on stage, and so it feels good within that realm, in that community, when you get that.
Ain't nothing like that stank face, bro.
Ain't nothing like that stank face.
I tell you what, man, I played percussion in like a little cover funk band, right?
Mm-hmm.
Vibra slap. You know what a vibra slap is, right?
Yep.
So vibra slap is something that, man, you might play one time in a 3-hour set. You know, it ain't a, you know, it's not like a cymbal or a triangle or something like that.
Right.
And so a drummer, man, Will, every time I would hit that, you know, man, he would just get this look. One time, man, you know, a 2-hour set, man, and Will would be on the drums, and Will would be like,
For those who don't know, that stink face basically is equivalent to double thumbs up.
oh man, it's like, boy, you killing it. That's what it's equivalent.
Right, that's you killing it. You killing it.
Yeah.
But you know, we going on the film side of things. Do you have a favorite film or a TV show that inspired you to keep going on your path?
I think the thing that the person that's probably the most responsible for validating that, hey, I can't be a filmmaker, well, she's got to have it. Spike Lee, 1996. I had no thoughts of being, you know, it's my first time, even though I saw, and I was old enough to go to blaxploitation films in the 70s. I didn't know who made them, you know, because they weren't half the time the directors were white. And then when I didn't know, you know, who were they black or white, but I saw in She's Gotta Have It a young brother somebody who looked like me, who not only directed the film, but he directed it, you know, he raised the money himself. He used credit cards. I think his budget was like, you know, $167,000, 1985, 86. So it was different. It was, and then also too, have you ever seen She's Gotta Have It, the original?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So you know, that's what kind of started my love for jazz music, for acoustic jazz music. You know, because his father composed the score, and you remember that little dance scene with the dancer when he man. At the time, I wasn't even into that kind of jazz. I was more into like that funk fusion stuff. You know, Marcus Miller and Herbie Hancock. And so I remember seeing that scene, and that was the only scene that was in color in the movie, and that changed my life, man. As a lover of jazz, and also as a, hey man, I can do that, because I never grew up saying, hey, I want to be a filmmaker. I think the first thing I wanted to be was a football player. By the time I was like 13, you know, I realized, okay, I don't want to do that. And then the next thing I wanted to do was be a DJ, you know, like a radio DJ, because it looked fun, it looked cool, and you could play, you know, cool music or whatever. And, and then at a certain point, I wanted to be the next Richard Pryor, but Eddie Murphy became the next Richard Pryor. and it's funny because I just recently got up on stage stand up first time in my life. I've been wanting to do. I'm 58. When I was 8 years old, I saw a documentary, Watt Stacks, You remember? Have you seen that documentary?
I don't think I've seen it, but I've heard of
If
it.
you get a chance, man, peep it out, man. It's like a snapshot of what was going on musically, culturally, politically in the early 70s. For those who don't know, Watt Stacks was an event after Martin Luther King was assassinated. Watts was burned down, like many cities across the country, urban cities. You know, we always go to tear our own up first. And so the owners of Stax Records, which is the yellow label with the finger snapping on it, we all grew up, you know, with our mamas had the 45s. They partnered with some musicians, and they did like a 1 or 2 day concert. And in between the concert footage, they're interviewing regular people, and they're also interviewing Richard Pryor, who's in a bar. He's not even doing stand-up. He's just kind of sitting at the bar, and whoever the crew or whoever's in the bar, they're laughing. And I'm 8 years old. Me and my cousin, we were in Ohio. I was visiting my grandfather for the summer. We snuck in like 2 or 3 times to see the movie. And I remember hearing Richard Pryor. It was my first time seeing him. So wow. I was like, yo, man. Because I was always class clown. I come from a family of people who were humorous. And my uncle, how I got started, Uncle Julian Delco, he was an actor before me. And years later, I ended up getting my start as an actor in the same theater company that he'd started in. And so yeah, man. So that's watch that. That's when I saw Richard Pryor. From 8 years old till I graduated out of high school, I was doing his material in class.
I see, because there's 3 things I enjoy is music, film, and comedy. And a lot of times when I'll be on the road, when I'm going to school, going back and forth from home, driving like 10 plus hours, I would put on stand-up comedy playlists on, and Richard Pryor was always my number one go-to. And I tried so hard to drive and not like kill myself laughing so hard, but because I love to laugh. That's one of the things I like to do in life is just laugh, watch stand-up comedy, because there's always like art to it. And I recently watched the new Chris Rock special, and so I love doing that. And a little mini question: so you said you wanted to be a DJ. Did you ever like get like a maybe turntable or anything like that?
No, man. I had a cassette tape, and I would press pause, and I would take like that. And then I had some partners who really were DJs. So then I was like, all right, cool, I'll be them. I'll just talk stuff while they're mixing. My late friend, man, one of my best friends, Harvey, they called him the King. We called him Sir Funk a lot. This brother was the baddest. And it's crazy, bro, because when you talk about the early 80s, hip-hop was mostly in New York. But I think one of the record stores in New Orleans used to get all these records from New York. So everything that we heard the cats in New York doing, my man had an inside connect, and he could go get it. And he would either be the only or the first person to have these records, and we would throw parties. I used to be a party promoter, and we charged people $3 to $5 just to come have fun and laugh. There was no fights, no shooting. Everybody just having a good time, laughing, dancing. Everybody dancing, just having a good time, man. Something I want to elaborate on what you spoke of. You said music, film, and comedy. Those are 3 things that you like. I love those things too. Man, those are the things that got so many people through quarantine and COVID uncertainty for a year and a half. Man, yes, if it was, I remember someone asked me when I was living in LA. A lot of times, man, as an artist, you're struggling. Just trying to make your way. And this person was someone who was in another, had gotten a master's and everything, and we was trading broke stories. And she said, "Ooh, I don't see how y'all could do that. Pursue these arts, and it's that hard." And my thing was, well, let's take away all of the people who ever tried to do it. When you come home from a long day of work, when you've had a bad day at the office, on your way you got a 2-hour commute, what are you going to listen to?
Right.
What are you going to look at? So the arts, we think of it as, a lot of people think of it as is something that's just kind of secondary. But those of us who get into it and try to get my man, one of my guys from OBX, man, one of the best gaffers in the world.
Shout out
on the real. But yeah, man, you know, we take what we do seriously. When you're putting together a song, or when you put together a song list for a film, man, you might work 18, 20 hours trying to get it done, trying to get it perfect, you know. So we love it. That's the only reason why you would forsake your family and food and everything else for this art, man. Because it's not like, hey, look at me. There's a little bit of that. I think when we all come in, we all want to be rich and famous. But once you get bit by the bug, whether it's visual art, whether it's film, whether it's whatever, you're not worried about all of that ego stuff, man. You really just trying to get it good. You really trying to make your peers proud of you, because that's whose opinion, who you're really listening to, the people who do what you do.
exactly. And I graduated my master's maybe I want to say like 2 months before COVID came to the United States. And so I had a job at a restaurant or the kitchen at a hotel. And I was like, I don't know if I could do this, because my shift, you had like kids just coming back from their soccer games and stuff like that. I was like, and I'm washing dishes. And so I was just like, all right, for my safety, because I'm going to have to go back home pretty soon, I'm going to have to just quit this job and find a job that can, you know, secure me and pay my rent.
Right.
But during the time, you know, I was listening to music from America to across the world, watching films from across the world as well. And this is the time where everybody's getting into podcasting. So here I am trying to find an idea of what can I do, what can I talk about, and I'm doing the things that I like. I'm watching a film and I like listening to soundtracks. And so it took me a while to think, you know, let me talk about the music and film, because personally, it's just me. I haven't really hear a lot of people talking about it, unless I haven't been, you know, listening to a lot of podcasts at the time. And so it took me a while until I moved to Georgia, and I said, all right, let me take this jump and finally get started. And I'm
glad you did. This is a space that, you know, one of the things about film is it's collaborative. So most people first think about is the actors, maybe the director, and the script. But the music is another character. The location is another character. It's just the mood. I recently, I'm not gonna call the name. I recently watched a movie on Netflix. It was a French movie, and it was a thriller. And it was a first, I think it was a first or second time director, and he overused the suspense button.
Oh, okay.
Every time something weird's happening, he had them chords.
Yeah.
But most of the times it was false alarms, right?
Mm-hmm.
So okay, he's trying to set us up for that knockout punch when something really does happen or whatever, but he just overdid it. And so, you know, I was thinking, people think it's easy, but when you're coming in, you're the last person to put your fingerprints on that film, the music supervisor, you know?
Yes.
And so it ain't complete. It's naked. It's a whole different movie without your taste and your, you know, restraint, knowing how much and when, and you know, and even when there's silence, that's a decision, you know, made by you and the director or the producers or whatever, that can strengthen or weaken a film. So I'm so glad you're in the space, brother, because there's not too many folks that you know, talk about this.
I appreciate that, because I'm no pro music supervisor like at all. Like I said, I'm only doing this like for the first time. But what I can show for is, you know, taking a piece of music and, you know, connecting the dots to certain characters or certain messages or themes or world building. Like I use this platform to like interpret music like down to its core. And so whenever I watch something that I love, like say the show I watched, Attack on Titans, I pick out like every score or song that's contributing to the story or the character themselves. and I explain how this fits and how this helps tell the story, how this embellishes the story. Even if you don't watch the show with dialogue, this music is telling you something while
You know what?
it's happening on screen.
You know what show did a great job, not only of the music. Sometimes it was like on the nose, and sometimes that could kind of be, you know, whatever. But Insecure. And what I loved about Insecure, man, most of the time it was artists I'd never heard of. And I would, you know, I'd hit like, here, you know, I put on my Google, who is this? And I go. And that's the thing, man. I have radio, oh my God, it's so trash right these days. And probably for the last 20 years. And I'm not saying anything against the artists that are out there doing. Yeah. There's some good people doing stuff, but the best stuff is not on radio.
I agree. I totally agree, because that's one of the reasons why. Because I also watched a French show on Netflix, and there's this popular artist. I think her name was Angèle, but her song was played for this character who's all about, you know, a millennial character, and it fits her character very well. And I took the time on this mic to read the French words, which I failed at, and read the English translations. And just deciphering how this fits her character, because she's, you know, the millennial on the phone 24/7 taking selfies, but it works because that's part of the storytelling that music contributes to it. And some of these, I try to pick a lot of TV shows that use bands that are like independent or haven't been heard on the radio a lot, even if they do covers of popular songs. Like, I want them to be heard, because they're working just as hard, getting the message out, getting their creativity out. Not you know, disrespecting what we have in the mainstream, but I always feel that independent artists, they should have a chance as well to be heard.
Absolutely, brother. Yeah, that means. Let me ask you a question, brother. How old are you, Jeremiah?
I'm 26.
So where do you go to hear fresh music?
A lot of times, either watching TV shows. That's where I find like a lot of music, and a lot of independent artists. And I use my Shazam, or maybe I go to the mall, and like I said, I use my Shazam app a lot. I listen to the radio every chance I get, and, you know, save songs from on my Spotify playlist. But that's mainly like my sources.
I'll tell you another show that does a great job of using music, Outer Banks, on Netflix. I was in the first 2 seasons, and now at the 3rd season I can kind of spoil. They call my name, but I'm not in the actual season. But I looked at the 3rd season, and I guess the first 2 seasons I didn't pay attention to the music because I was looking for myself. But but in the 3rd season, I'm peeping out, and I got my captions on, so they're telling you the name and the lyrics of all the music. So I love, you know, quite frankly, man, I think a lot of filmmakers have broken bands in the last 20 years. They've done a great job of being A&R, man, better than the radio programmers. You know, by putting these people in their projects and exposing them to a larger audience. You know.
Yeah, and one of the shows that I loved, I want to say the 100. They put me on to a lot of bands and artists that I'd never known of, independent or mainstream, and that was a really good show. And there was I think it has 7 seasons of that.
Okay.
So it was pretty good. And obviously, like I said, I watch shows from across the world, and especially like, you know, Japanese shows, and that I've mainly because of the music. I just love their music as well. But I was like, go ahead.
What got you into Japanese? Were you a fan of anime, or?
You know, I watched it as a kid, and then I stopped, and then as I'm going to school for my bachelor's and master's, I got back into it. But it's always the music that got me on there first, and then I started paying attention to the stories and how deep both elements contribute to it. And so now I'm reading so much Japanese translations and songs I'm reading the subtitles, and my eyes just widen much more and more and more as to how they correlate the music and the film together. It's really it's very unique, I'll say.
Yeah, yeah, it's beautiful. That's another thing, man. I challenge myself to listen to genres of music that I normally am not into. Like a couple of years ago, I got into classical music. You know, just going, you know, jumping in the crates. What am I listening to now differently? At one point, I was listening to like jump jazz, which was like in the 40s, early 50s, which is basically the precursor to R&B. You know, Louis Jordan. You had a lot of novelty songs. And so, and those guys, that was like the rap of the day because it wasn't straight jazz. And so the jazz purists kind of like, get out of here. And then, of course, it wasn't proper modern pop music, which was kind of Lawrence Welk orchestra stuff, you know, it was just the stuff that had a pop in it, which really the roots of rock and roll came from, you know.
Got you. I got you.
You know
Well, let's keep the interview rolling. Focusing more on the film and your contribution. So, if you don't mind, talk about your experience on the set, in front and behind the camera, because you, like I said, you've been very fluid in the film industry.
Right. I've been blessed. Yeah, man. In the front, it's easy, man, because you know I got one job. And I say lines, hit this mark, and I don't run into anybody. When I'm behind the camera as a director or producer, that's a whole different deal. And that it is especially, you know, look, man, I was 36 years old, which is considered old, when I became a PA, which is an entry level behind the camera, because I was already in front of the camera. So then I was like, you know what, man, I had to beg. I begged for 2 years because everybody thought I was trying to get acting work, you know, from getting on the other side. I said, no, man, I can't afford to go to USC. So this is my film school. So I started off as a PA, and then I became, you know, within not even a year, man, and I became Cash Money's casting director. And all of those iconic music videos from 99 to 2001, I had a direct hand in, with the exception of Back That Thing Up. The day I started working in the office was the day that premiered on MTV. And so I didn't have anything to do with that. But everything after that, you know, I had something to do with it. But I tell you what, directing a feature was one of the hardest things that I ever do in my life. If I got 2 hours of sleep a night, and that's mostly because I couldn't sleep, because I had such, you know, my crew was about from 7 to 12 people, depending on the day. And you know, on a film crew, man, that's hardly anybody. But I like that because on large films, on you know, on the average film, there's a lot of people just sitting around. But because of the unions and everything else, somebody might sit around for 5 hours, but on that 6th hour, you might need them, and they have a specialized skill, so it's part of the package. That's why movies cost so much, because you got all of this bulk. What I love about doing an indie film is that we're all going to be working, having 2 and 3 jobs, but when you got people that's got your back, and you working 12 or 14 hours, you don't mind, because everybody else is just as invested as you are.
Right.
And so it's all good. It's a labor of love, and it's a family. It's a real family. 80% of my crew was female, and 75% of them had never been a department head in the position that they, you know, usually if I had a guy that was being gripped, now he's the key grip. If I had somebody that was a PA, now they're the, you know, first AD or whatever. My assistant Rhonda, I called her the film. What I call her, the film seal. She did wardrobe. She did props. She was my assistant. She did craft service. You know, she did a little bit of everything. So Yeah, it's night and day. When I'm working as an actor, man, usually they have a trailer or somewhere for me to be comfortable. And I can go chill and focus on my lines. And all right, they're ready for you. I go do my thing, and then half the time I'm finished, and they got 5-6 more hours. Working behind the camera, first one there, last one to leave. As a PA, as a director, I always prided myself when I was producing and directing stuff to try to be the first one. I'd get in contests with some of my workers because they try to beat me to set. Say we got a 6 o'clock call, and I say, okay, cool, I'm gonna get there 5:30. And if somebody is like, there at 5:30, I say, okay, tomorrow I'll get here at 5:15. And then they see me get there 5:15, then they get there. Then we have to call the troops. Like, we're gonna be here an hour and a half before we need to be here, trying to be competitive with each other.
Yeah.
Call the troops. But I love it, man. It's work, but it is something that you gotta love.
Yeah, I experienced the dynamics, behind the camera and how emotions go, like for say like directing a film, because I've been a part of 2 independent films so far. Well, one of them was a student film, and I'm wearing a T-shirt. I don't know if you saw at the beginning, called Murder Cycle. That's a film we filmed on a student campus for our masters.
Full Sail?
At Full Sail. Mm-hmm. And we had a big crew. I want to say like 60 plus, and you could feel how all the emotions, how the dynamics, but how effective you have on the crew when they know what they're doing. And this is my first time being on set. I'm doing the sound mixing for the first time. And so just seeing how less stressful it is when everyone is invested and they can take care of what it is that they're assigned to do. It's a very special feeling, and especially a film that we recently just filmed back in November in LA. You could definitely feel like the more stressful because you're out of the safety of the campus. You're out here on your own, getting your own film out there on set, and I can feel the stress on there. So I definitely understand.
I always tell people, you're not a man or a woman until you've worked with people that are not related to you full time. Feel me?
Wow.
I don't care how old you are, until you go in a foreign environment, and there's no auntie, no uncle, no big brother to look out for you, to pull your coattail when you out there in that shark land with people who are trying to take care of children. I don't care how old you are. You working with people that's 40, 50 years old. When I first started working I worked in corporate America for almost 10 years before I even got into acting and stuff. And for those 10 years, I say for the majority of them, I was the youngest person there. I'm 19, 20, these people 40, 50, 60 years old, and there was no love, And I saw that. And the same thing with film. When you get to LA or you go to New York or when you shoot in Georgia, Florida, Louisiana, North and South Carolina, it's totally different because the crews are like family. Someone just asked me how was the cast of Outer Banks. Family. Everybody it was like a family. Usually people hire nice. If you're gonna be an a-hole or any kind of crazy personality, boy, you better be worth millions of dollars to these people that's hiring you. Because they will tolerate it from a crazy director, a crazy producer, a crazy star. But everybody else, you got to be good, and you better be nice. I'd rather hire nice than hire experience because it makes for a better crew. I don't like people yelling and screaming at people and disrespecting people. There's a way for us to, you're already in a tough, sometimes you're out on location with elements, and anything that can go wrong will go wrong. Everybody's looking at you, hey, what we gonna do? And so you need a chill vibe so you can think, or you can act like you know what you're doing. A couple times, man, I say, hey, I got 3 or 4 people as a director asking me questions. Say, oh, who needs the bathroom? And I went in the bathroom, I'm hyperventilating. because my head is spinning because I don't have answers to all these questions. But just taking that break, I took a breath and said, okay, what color shoes I want, what room we want, what kind of light we, regroup myself. But when you're out in the real world in LA with those folks who have worked at the top of the game, on some of the biggest stuff, bro, they don't suffer fools.
I want to share this because I know some of them are in this live right now, but going to Full Sail for only 1 year, I've made friends who became family, and those same family, we filmed those two films together, and sharing that experience from planning to shooting to more planning for post-production, I say it's so much less stress because we share the stress together.
Exactly. You carry that load together, bro.
Exactly.
I'm gonna tell you, man, ain't nothing like being in the foxhole with people who got your back, whether it's athletics, whether it's a volleyball team, and y'all down a person, or y'all, I played on an 0-10 football team my senior year, bro. And half the people quit off the team. But even though we never won a game, I'll never forget those dudes who didn't quit on us. You'd think we won a championship the way we see each other.
Yeah.
And I didn't really know them that well. I had a couple of tight friends on the team, but the rest of the cats, I was kind of new to them because I got put out of the previous school I was at, so I was kind of new to the school. But to this day, we see each other, and because we went through something and we survived. And I think it's the same thing with working on a film or even a music project.
Yeah.
When you go through with stuff, and I love watching people when they're under duress because that's when you find out who they really are.
That's facts. That's facts.
That's who you.
I want to ask you one more question before we go to a one take go.
Yes, sir.
If that's all right with you. You mentioned some of the states as far as filming wise, and you said you're originally from New Orleans.
Yes, sir.
What does it mean for you to create films in the place that you grew up in?
Well, I'm actually based in Georgia now.
Okay.
But my feature, we directed it in New Orleans. And it means everything, man, because everything, I was born in Montana, but I moved to New Orleans when I was 7 months old. My father was in the Air Force. So from 7 months to 36 years old, my formative years were in New Orleans. And so if you know anything about music, the history of American popular music came from the cradle of New Orleans in Congo Square. And so I think it's something that when I sit back, while you're doing it, man, you're just in the mix. But when I sit back and I look at the finished product, and people say, "Hey, man, I love the music. I love the da 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 da." That's what I. And you know what's crazy, man? New Orleans is very small. Where are you originally from?
Originally from New York.
Okay, so what borough?
Queens.
Okay, cool. So Queens, the Bronx, Brooklyn, everybody know that. Everybody know Compton, right? And these are big major players in pop culture in America for the last 50, 60 years. New Orleans is a little bitty city compared to those. But everywhere we go, people know, they know New Orleans. If I say, hey, I'm from Raleigh, North Carolina, that may not ring a bell like Queens or Compton or New Orleans. But the fact that we're from a small city that's made a huge impact. I'll tell you what's crazy about New Orleans. Several people in pop culture changed the game. All three of them were from New Orleans. Louis Armstrong.
Yep.
He basically invented pop music in America. Master P. He changed the way him and Cash Money changed the way music deals were distributed. They were the first guys to get their masters, to own their masters from Jump Street. Tyler Perry.
Yep.
Tyler Perry is the first filmmaker to sign a deal with Lionsgate and keep the copyright to all of his movies. He had, just in other words, Cash Money No Limit, and Tyler Perry, they had true distribution deals, which meant, with I keep my masters, and I give you a percentage for you having the infrastructure to get this out to the masses. From that little bitty spot on the Mississippi River over almost 100-year period. Now, what's crazy is New Orleans doesn't have a music infrastructure like New York or LA. They don't have a scene. They got a live scene where you go and hear clubs and stuff, but there's no manufacturing or production like in New York and LA. But the biggest contributors in American popular culture came from that little spot next to the river.
There you go. Oh, you answered. I hope everyone's taking notes in the live. So now we're gonna take a moment and have a little break and get in our one take go. For those of you who are just coming in, one take go is basically you pressing the button to join the live. I'll get probably two of you, one at a time, and you come in, introduce yourself, and ask a question or have a comment for either Terrence, myself, or anything you want to share. And then we respond, and then we appreciate you, then we let you go. So one take go, get your questions, comments ready. I know we've had one that's been trying to get on throughout the show. So this is my cousin Lawrence. So here you go.
Wait, is that my Lawrence, my guy?
Your guy Lawrence.
That's who introduced us, man. That's my boy.
Yes, sir. He's coming in right now.
Man, I had Lawrence's mama crying, laughing.
There he is.
Hey, yo, what's going on?
Boogie.
Boogie, hey, what's going on, T? How you doing, man? Listen, man. One, this is a great show. It's very informative. I love how it's flowing. I'm not gonna stay too long. I had no idea that you were involved in a lot of the Cash Money early day videos. My question to you is, for a youngster that's coming into the game, a youngster that's coming into the scene, and has no experience but has that drive to want to assist the new QCs and the new bad boys and things of that nature, what advice would you give these guys?
Find somebody as close to you as you can who's doing what you want to do. Find somebody, ask around. Be the squeaky wheel. Let people know, hey, I'm trying to do X, Y, and Z. You know anybody in the game? That's one thing. That was the advice I got, and that person for me was Wendell Pierce. We grew up competing in Little League baseball, and he was the only person I knew who I'd seen on TV, and we were kind of rivals, so we weren't even buddies. We just knew each other, and we used to kick each other's butt in baseball. But once I got into acting, I said, hey man, what should I do? I got his number from his best friend, a mutual friend of mine, Don Lewis, and I called him. He gave me, about 5-10 minute deal, and he told me what to do, and I did that. 5 years later, I called him again. Hey man, I did everything you do. That's one thing. I would just say this is my I guess the one answer deal would be research as much as you can about what it is that you're trying to get into. Look at the ugliest parts of it. Everybody see the red carpets and the awards. Look at the trials. See what it really takes. See how many years it takes to go through Full Sail. See how many years the average actor takes before they get there. Look at the reality of the industry or whatever medium that you're trying to get into. Go to the bare bones of it, the foundation of it, and learn as much as you can before you even say, okay, I'm committed. I want to be an actor. I want to be a writer. I want to be a rapper. Look at everybody. I think everybody look at the pros, because they look at the money, the cars, the women, the fame. Man, that's the least. Beyonce is one of the best in the world. You ever seen her work ethic? Have you ever seen her passed out after a show on a sofa where they got to carry her on the plane to go do this all over again in the next city the next night? She's giving her all. know, of course, she's wealthy enough to have nannies and a support system, but she didn't always have that. So know what you're getting into first and foremost.
I love it. Appreciate the answer. I know it's a one take go, but Jeremiah, I love what you got going on with the playlist shuffle. I love that you're in a space to where you don't care what anybody else think of what you're doing and how you're doing it. Continue to do what you're doing, bro. I just have one question for you, Jeremiah, and I'm gonna go. The question that I have for you is, as you can see, even in the playlist shuffle, we're talking about cashing in dreams, right? Dreams that people had, whether it was you playing the bongos for the first time in the band, T talking to the guy who was like, now you're a mother effing band player, you know what I'm saying? You're a musician now, and those were dreams that were cashed in. So I have a small catalog of music myself. I used to be a rapper myself, and I didn't even think about it until tonight. You said that you are the music supervisor for this film that you actually are a part of. I want you to think about adding maybe one snippet of one of my records.
Boy, if you want this cousin, you know that's the part where they would cut you out, right? You started going on that. I don't care who's got technical difficulties.
Yeah. I just wanted to throw that out there. I want to give everybody else a chance. Pleasure. I'm gonna tune in. I'm gonna continue to listen to you guys. But just think of that question, Jay. Rock, paper, scissors, maybe, and something. I don't know.
We'll talk, Lawrence. We'll talk.
All right, we'll talk. All right, guys. Later. Appreciate
Before you leave, brother, I just want to give people a history. My brother has a kiosk in the mall near where I live, and trying to, doing his thing with his merchandise. And half the time before I got to know him, I tried to pass him. That's where I go to the movies at. So it's almost like a brother trying to sell you a bean pie or a final call. I didn't even know what he was selling. I saw Harriet Tubman. I said, oh, this is going to be a long conversation. I be walking down.
Yeah. You right. But and I want to tell the people what you did, which was amazing. What he did was that particular day, he ended up buying something. He ended up donating to the company, which was more than what the shirts that I have actually cost. And then he came back a few weeks later, and there was someone from, I want to say his hometown where he taught, that recognized him.
One of my former students.
Yep, former students. And what he ended up doing was he ended up actually told them that they can get anything off the shelf. Even though they got the most expensive thing on the shelf, he ended up still.
I add that Lawrence guided them to
I did.
T-shirts are like 30, the hoodies are like 60. He saw him looking at the t-shirts. He's like, "Oh man, you like that?
You got to get one of these. You gotta get one of these, man. So listen,
man, I'm toppers, bro.
Oh man, listen, I appreciate you, man, and we're more than just friends now. I could definitely consider you family, man. Y'all do me a favor and just create your own foundation or forever live on a plantation. I'm gonna jump off of this. This ain't
give
my
shout out to where you at, who you are, man.
I'm in Arbor Place Mall. I go by the name of Lawrence's Cashing in Dreams. We inspiring and motivating everybody in that mall, in that hallway at Arbor Place Mall, in the movie theater.
Where can we find your stuff online?
CashingInDreams.com. I'm gonna go ahead and put it in the comments for those who are in here right now. CashingInDreams.com, and y'all just go support. Get a shirt. If you don't get it for yourself, get it for your friend. The meaning on the shirt, create your own foundation or forever live on the plantation. You can pin that comment for me if you want, Jeremiah, for a little bit. And then you guys just go support. I didn't come on here to sell anything, but if you guys would like to support, y'all go grab a t-shirt, a hat, a hoodie, whatever, and I'll go ahead and ship it out to you guys. But listen, let me
$120.
let me let somebody else get a chance. It was a pleasure. Till we meet again, Tim. Terrence, I definitely love what you guys got going on. All right.
Thank you, brother. God bless you, man.
All right.
Thanks, Lawrence.
All right, you're welcome, man. Later. Question is, how do I get out of here?
You should be able to X out.
Let me see. Hold on.
I don't know if I can do it from my screen.
Let me see. Hold on. Cancel. All right, I'll just X out.
Oh man, that was
All
cool.
right, all right.
That's my guy.
That's my cousin. Is there anyone else who would like to join the one take go? I know that was a little longer than expected, but you know,
That was family.
this is this is a safe space for you to ask questions. This is I'll say a once in a lifetime opportunity. All right, we got one. Gumbo Daddy 44.
That's my boy, man, from high school, my QB.
Oh, okay. He's gonna come in right now. He's coming in now.
Man, me and this dude probably go back about 40-something years, man. Day camp.
Wow.
Day camp.
Should be coming in.
Gumbo Daddy 44. He must make some good gumbo. P.S. I know you get down with gumbo. Like I know your sister makes some good gumbo.
I've had gumbo maybe once or twice.
Uh-huh.
I had someone who went to I went to high school with. He's originally from New Orleans, and his mom made some really good gumbo.
That was your first time eating it?
Yep.
And it was good? You liked it?
It was really good.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going. I don't know why it's not.
Where you at, Gumbo Daddy?
Unable to join. All right, we're gonna do this. We're gonna continue on with the interview. Gumbo, try going out and then coming back into live, and we're gonna do another session of one take go when we get to it. So we're just going to continue on with the interview, get back on track on time. And so my apologies, Gumbo, but come back, go out and come back in. We'll get you next time. So continue on with the interview. I wanted to sort of focus in on the music supervision aspect. You took on the role. From your point of view, I'm curious as to, especially for your first time, you're on this project. You see what you see on screen. I assume that you've seen from it being written to being filmed, and now in post-production. How'd you approach it as far as like what instruments you want? If you hired any composers to make the music, how'd you explain what the director would have had in their vision as to music storytelling of the project?
Cool. I didn't write the script, but I directed. I did some little rewrites or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But the majority of it was written by this really wonderful first-time screenwriter, man. And what we did, man, was we cut it. I did a director's cut first, and I think I put some dummy tracks on it just to get a vibe, a flow. And then I went back, and I had a plethora of music that my musician friends, my friend Demetrius Corley, Don B, bass heavy, my former bass player from Soul Remedy. He's also played with the Far Side, Cash Money, No Limit, and Dia Davenport from the Brand New Heavy. He's played with everybody. He's from Shreveport. Tondre, Kemp, all these are friends of mine. Chatty. So all these cats, they sent me music. I had a Marlon Beat, my former lead singer from Soul Remedy. So I went through all the songs, and then it was just kind of just placement, man. Just kind of like even finding. I think a lot of the times it's even to a point where you know yourself as a music supervisor, where you soon as the person starts singing, it may interfere with the dialogue. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times it was the intros of songs that we used as transition. Like say something happened in the scene, right. And so the lead actress is sad. So then I could let some lyrics come through because she's not saying that pondering. So it really depended on what physically, what was going on in the deal. And again, man, I had never done it, so I had no method. It was just really, this feels good. And man, the beautiful thing about it was that I think I had 6 or 7 musical contributors, which is not a lot for a feature film.
Okay.
And but it was more than enough because each person sent me about 6 to 10 tracks, and so I listened to every track, man. I even got different cuts where I had different songs on different stuff. You know what I'm saying? So it was really just by feel. And what happens is when you're editing a movie, man, it gets to a point where it's a diminishing point of return. You know, where it's like, hey, man, I need to step away from it for a while because I'm biased and I'm prejudiced of certain things. So I can really get a clean slate. Whenever I write a script, I'll write it and I'll try to put it down and walk away from it as long as I can. Sometimes that might be 6 months, just to whatever preconceived notions I had that I'm trying to impose on it, I can come with a clean slate. So I did that with the film. I did a little rough cut, and before we picture locked it, I walked away. I only could walk away from it for like a week or so because I was just kind of burnt out from just sitting in the dark room, looking at the edits and stuff. So when I came back, I made adjustments, little slight adjustments to the music, and then everything just. I mean, it's like, but there's this thing in art where you rely on technique for about maybe 85%, but the rest of that 15% is divine intervention. You gotta leave some room for the universe. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm a control freak, so I like to say, hey, I want this and that. 30 years of doing this, man, what I realize is that I pick my battles. Okay, cool. I got this figured out and I know what I want to do, but then this other stuff, I'm gonna and a lot of times, man, just go and take a walk or ride your bike or doing something other than what you're doing. Something on either you'll be inspired, you'll hear something, see something, and you're like, oh my God, that's it. And a lot of times it's so simple. Because as a filmmaker, as an editor, really what you're doing, even on the day when you're shooting, what you're doing is you're solving problems more than you're doing anything else. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I want this to happen, but oh man, that light and her shadows go. So how are we gonna do that? So then you're adjusting on the run. No matter how much time I put the night before staging this, I went to the location, I looked at it, but I didn't go to the location with all the lights and the crew and the boom mic and all of that.
Right.
So you gotta be flexible. You gotta be like bamboo, strong yet flexible.
I like that.
Yeah. You gotta know what you're doing, but you also gotta be open to the universe.
Yeah. So when you came in contact with these artists or those who were sending you tracks, because a lot of times, I've gone to like the Guild of Music Supervisors conference, and I had a course about music supervision, a broad course, and they're talking about, looking up the song's metadata and seeing like their publishers and their masters. Was there ever a time that you had like negotiate any like quotes or anything like that?
Yeah, everybody. One person turned me down. It was a friend of mine, but I understood. He's done this before, and he's had music placed in like, HBO shows and stuff. And so he was like, "Hey man, I need something. I need more than that." And I said, "We don't have it." And so I didn't hold him. Yes, I was disappointed, but I understood.
Right.
It was business. When if you're doing like a little short and this, that, and the other, well, that's hey, let's put on a show. But when it becomes legit, because this thing is going to be on, hopefully Amazon, Netflix, somewhere else, whatever, the business got to be straight. And so all of the folks, they agreed. Everybody had to do paperwork, and so what happens is that I tell you what I really wish I could have did. If I'd have had the resources and the time and the patience, I'd have did a soundtrack of all the artists, bro. It would have been killer. If you go check out Different Worlds on Tubi, and listen to the music, you'll see what I'm talking about, bro.
Check that out.
Absolutely, that's the name of the film, the feature that I co-directed. Because full disclosure, I directed the first half, which is set in New Orleans, And then a Nigerian director directed the second half of the movie in Nigeria. And what I loved was the collaboration with these brothers from another country. And it was just us. We didn't have no money from nowhere else. And then the beauty of it all was that Ray Murphy, who was Eddie Murphy's first cousin, distributed the movie.
Wow.
And we premiered right before Coming to America Part 2. Full disclosure, I thought they were going to sue us because the storyline was similar to the original Coming to America. Before I even met Ray, I was like, oh, this might be problematic because the original Coming to America was mired in one of the biggest, IP. One of the biggest lawsuits over intellectual property. But Art Bushwald, he sued John Landis, Paramount, probably Eddie Murphy, and he won, saying that they took his idea. And I sent it to my executive producers from Nigeria, also the boyfriend. I said, look, bro, this is what happened last time. Nigeria's like, I don't care. We're going to do it. And we did it. And ironically, we got our deal with Murphy Distribution.
Nice.
So that was a blessing.
Would you ever take on a role as music supervisor again?
I'd love to, man. I mean, there's people like yourself who are really doing it. But I think, if I'm directing a movie, and again, we're kind of budget challenged, I may not have a choice but to do it. And by me having a background in music, that was a blessing. I don't think I could have done it without the relationships that I had with all these musicians and my knowledge of a little bit about music and how things work to put it into my deal. I'd have had to depend on somebody with your skill set to say, hey man, you do this. Right. But I'd love to. But I'm thinking if I do it again, hopefully I'll have a bigger budget, and I would still work closely with the music supervisor. And the thing I like, say for example, let's say God willing, I get a feature, and you're gonna be probably one of the first people I call when I'm saying, hey man, I need a music supervisor. So one of the things I know that you bring to the table is that you've been formally trained, so you're gonna teach me some stuff, and you have a wider interest in music than I do, and so whatever little narrow vision I had of what artists and what sound I had, you're gonna help broaden that. You see what I'm saying?
I got you.
And so I'm cool with letting the masters do, let the people who specialize in something do what they do. So in a perfect world, I'd love for you to be the first call and say, hey, I got this thing. I want you, this is what I'm thinking. And then what I love to do when I'm collaborating with younger folks is say, hey, this is what I'm thinking. What's your take on that? And 9 times out of 10, if not 10 times out of 10, I end up being pulled in a direction that I normally wouldn't have gone myself. And so that expands me and stretches my knowledge base as well.
Hey, I'd be honored for you. I'd be honored if I was the guy on the other side of the phone. Hey, you calling up for a music supervisor? I'll be honored. I'll be honored.
In the universe, that's how me and the brother who produced the movie, he was my student. He was taking acting, and then the first day of class, I always ask people to stand up, tell about themselves. He said, hey man, I produce movies in Nigeria. My dream is to produce a movie in America. And so I said in jest, hey man, me and you gonna do a collaborative movie, America and Africa. And it was a year and a half later. And it wasn't until we're like a couple of weeks into pre-production, it dawned on me, hey man, we said we were gonna do this, remember? Yeah. So there's power of the word, putting stuff in the universe,
Absolutely. And me and my friends, we were having a similar conversation about, how it seems like destiny is coming around us, making this film, and the contacts that we're getting and having you on my podcast, and then we just had big news yesterday or the other day, and so feelings mutual. If we have a future or we working on a film, we call you up for a role, acting a role, or somewhere behind the camera.
No, man. Look, bro, I love collaborating. I work with people. After sitting home for a year and a half, I think one of my first gigs was shooting Outer Banks in Barbados. So I couldn't have had a better entree back into the game than to spend 3 weeks in one of the most beautiful places on earth with great collaborators.
Nice.
Shooting a great show. So look, I'll do a Marvel, which is a $200 million movie. And then I'll come. As a matter of fact, when I did the first Guardians, the day I wrapped, the next day I drove to New Orleans and I did this little micro budget film called Placaments, directed by Naila Jefferson, which ended up being on HBO. At the time, we didn't know where it was, we didn't know what it was going to happen. It was just this little short film, and she had some money to do it. And so yeah, I love just working, meeting new people. I'm on the older end of the scale, so I love working with young folks, man. Because you guys are the future, and I'm learning because you guys got access to technology that we didn't have growing up. So I'm watching you guys and observing, asking questions, and really digging on your potential as opposed to hating. We got to stop that, bro. We always. Yeah. I'm not talking about as black people. I'm talking about as human beings.
Yes.
We all in this together. And so whatever time we got, man, why not make it pleasurable for each other?
I agree. And one thing I want to say is you had me laughing in Guardians of the Galaxy when y'all was doing like that slow-mo and you was crashing into the glass. Hey, I'll tell you, like, this man's a funny actor because that and the scene on Atlanta, that had me crying when I first saw that. And this was before I even knew that was you. I watched the episode and I was just crying, laughing.
We met after Atlanta. That's when we got introduced to each other.
What was that?
After I said we got introduced.
Yeah.
Okay, see, I didn't even realize that.
Yeah. And I was watching also when you gave me your demo reel when you was giving out a Jim Crow must go.
Yeah.
I said, man, I was like, I don't know why that hits so good, but that's why when next time we have a film, like, I definitely will have you like on the list of whatever actor or whatever, because I like your personality, I like your skills, like, for real.
That's the thing, man. Be nice. It's a blessing to get to do what we do, man. And I remember, coming up, and there some actors who were like my age, and they hadn't hit the level of success that they thought they should have, and so they're bitter. They would be mean, this and that and the other. And I was like, man, I wasn't raised like that. Treat people the way you like to be treated. That's the rule.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
Look, bro, I've been in the game since '88, over 30 years. Going on 35 years or whatever. And I may have had one or two situations on a set where I wanted to curse. Well, I probably had more than that I want to curse somebody out. But I've only actually had to curse people out twice. Not counting the ones that were premeditated. I'm just trying to get people attention. You know what I'm saying?
I got you.
Man, I got to pull my goon hand out because everybody getting on the phone. I'm going to pick the person who can take it, cuss him out in front of everybody. Oh, man, that's his boy. Girl, he cussed out. Well, let's get, every once in a while you got to pull your goon hand out, get everybody's mind right. But no, man, I love doing this. And you're going to spend 12 hours, 14, sometimes 16, 18 hours with folks, bro. It may as well be people that you enjoy being around. Shout out to Al Mitchell.
I understand it.
Director, actor, partner of mine.
Shout out. I have a couple more questions.
Absolutely, bro.
So I think at the beginning of the live, you mentioned Out of Nowhere Productions. and you was telling me about it before. So I was curious as to like what was the strategy for having Out of Nowhere Productions connect with like some of the major studio companies, because you told me about it. So please explain that.
Absolutely. Yeah, man, it originated in early '93. When I lived in New Orleans, at the time I was doing theater.
Mm-hmm.
And all the big time tech people, actors, writers, producers, directors called a meeting at my house. And I said, hey, man, why don't we come together and do, and all of them were African American. I said, hey, man, let's do our own thing. And they told me no. And it hurt at first I was angry, then I was hurt. But then I said, you know what? I'm gonna do this anyway. I'm gonna build it. So then I ran into the situation where I can only do so much myself. So what I learned is that if you build it, they will come. Meaning that I can do this part by myself. And as far as I can bring it by myself, when people come see the foundation of the house, they say, okay, I see. So what ended up happening, all these people who told me no ended up being part of Out of Nowhere Productions. Not from I wanted us to be all equal equity partners.
Right.
Love y'all too. But they didn't so instead of working with me, they ended up working for me. And so when I got to LA, it was an entity, a company I'd already had. And so we just partnered up with whoever was coming through. When me and my partner C.L. Taylor did Refugees, we got called into Universal, Paramount, Sony, and they all told us the same thing in 2006 and 2007. First of all, who the heck are you? We never heard of y'all before. We love what you're doing, but we don't know how to monetize it. And number three, we don't believe people will look at content on personal devices. This is the year before the iPhone came out. And I knew they were wrong because I used to work for Qualcomm as a security guard right after 9/11 when I first moved to California. Wow. And I would go into the president of, they made chips for like 75% of the phones at that time, phones all over the world. And I saw the future of cell phone technology in the president's office on shelves. So I knew content, they were already doing it in South Korea and China and other places. So I knew that was going to be the future. Once that toothpaste was out, it wasn't going back in. So I knew they were wrong about that. And even the monetize, I knew the same thing with the music industry. I'd seen this happen with Cash Money. Once the money went away from CDs, and then it went digital. And initially, digital was free. Napster, everybody was just jacking everything. And then they found a way to monetize it, but it wasn't in the same levels of a CD. It was in smaller increments. But they were, Hollywood gonna get their money. They're gonna get theirs. It's just a matter of finding the infrastructure to do it. So I knew that, hey, it ain't gonna be like it was 10 years ago, but this is gonna be the future of the business. We were soon. We were too soon. And then you're talking about between 2006, 2008, 9. You're talking about a major financial crisis around the world, and so it was just a crazy time. So we were early, but that didn't deter me because I knew same thing with a song or a script. You might have something, and it's oh man, we just did that, and that's over. Put it in the drawer. It's gonna come back around. It's gonna come back around. It used to be 10 or 20 year increments. Now it's like 5-year increments. And
gotcha.
And a couple of years from now, it might be 3-year increments. But and that's the thing. I was talking to a buddy of mine tonight. He's a director. And he's got a documentary, and they got some people looking at it. He was actually they were the team that shot my movie, The Dark Brothers. And he was, he's like, man, business is frustrating. Same thing with us when we were negotiating with different people, man. Then we had people get lawyers on us, and we didn't get sued, but we had to spend more money. We had to hire lawyers, and we had to do stuff. And so that's the thing. We all come in here as a gang. I ain't only say it's a gang. We want to tell stories as a child.
Right.
And then you get a little older, so you get women and money and cars too. So then we kind of looking at that. But when you really get into the business of show, which is, they call it show business, but it's really the business show. That part not fun, because it has nothing to do with creativity. It has nothing to do with why you signed up. That's why I always tell people, learn the basics, learn the worst part about whatever medium you're trying to get on. So it ain't a surprise to you, because you're writing songs at your house. You wrote 500 songs, and this guy gonna give you $1 for every song. He gonna bring me to Hollywood. Then you find out somebody paying him $100 for each song. Then you find out somebody else getting $1,000 from your songs, and you still get $1. That'll crush your spirit. I've seen people have situations like that, very talented people, and they quit because they were crushed, because their dreams, they were dreaming on the creative, but be equally yoked about the business of the game as well. And that's what you realize is, look, man, if you're a musician and you love creating songs, go to YouTube, get your guitar, and do some stuff. And nobody can tell you no. People can say they don't like it or whatever, but you have the freedom to do it. You get into Hollywood, I don't care how good you are. If it doesn't make business sense, then ain't nobody gonna deal with you. So you really got to learn the business of whether it's acting, right? Music supervision. I got a question for you. So you went Full Sail, you did your thing in music supervision, and then you been going to LA, doing some stuff. Have you came across something that wasn't in the curriculum at Full Sail that you got to deal with, or you had to deal with as a music supervisor in dealing with Hollywood?
Well, I'll say after we did our film, because before when I went to Full Sail, I didn't know what I wanted to do. So by the time I was in the second to last class before I graduated, that's when I found out I wanted to be music supervisor. And that's when we had our film done, we got our audio finished and everything like that. So it was just before I graduated, I knew I wanted to be music supervisor. And I spent all that time Googling, researching what it is a music supervisor does. It only took me until back in this past October, where I finally got to go to LA, and I finally get to see these professionals and hear their takes, their stories, their point of views. And so to answer your question, it's more like a yes or no, because during Full Sail, I didn't know exactly what music supervision was, but learning more now between I want to say back in May to now, because I took a course and now I'm taking on this thing for the first time. I would say that's actually a question I never thought about.
That means it's a good question.
It is a good question.
Because I guess I'm assuming that the fact that you wasn't really, coming to Full Sail to be a music supervisor, everything is new.
No.
Everything
about film was new to me.
Right.
I already knew enough about music, reading music, recording, but film, I just knew that you had a camera, you had a mic, and you edit, and you write the script, obviously.
I got another question for you. As a musician, I know you're retired, but as a musician, have you had an opportunity to drop some of your playing ability on some of the projects that you worked on? In other words, have you been able, hey man, I'm gonna do a clarinet solo, or I'm gonna throw some percussion in this thing, or whatever. Have you had an opportunity to do that on any of the projects that you've worked on?
I have not had that opportunity. The closest was for Murder Cycle. We had like a little photo shoot, and they wanted to take a picture of me and my bass. And so that's as close to the opportunity as, you know, using my instruments as possible. So, but I didn't get to like play anything.
Do you see that? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Actually, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop right there. Actually, there was a part in the scene in our film Murder Cycle where it was exterior bar scene, and I sort of composed a little a jam, like an '80s type rockish jam, to be played in the bar.
Okay.
So when you're the exterior shot, you can hear it from the outside, and so we edited that audio. So I'll say that is the one musical experience I had.
Can I ask you a favor before we get out of here, man?
Yeah.
I have a merch company called Funky Uncle Records. Could you pick it up? And I'm gonna send you something. You're a bass player also, right?
Yes, sir.
I got something for you. What's your size? What size you wearing shirts?
Shirts I wear medium.
Medium? I got you, bro. It's called FunkyUncleRecords.com. And on that, we have merch that has film icons, music icons. We got art. I know that's a shameless plug.
No. Plug as much. Plug anything you want on here.
We've got Outer Banks stuff for people that fans of Outer Banks. FunkyUncleRecords.com is where we at, and we've got sales going on all this month. I think we got you been on that site? Cool. Yep, there we go. FunkyUncleRecords.com, and get your Boogie. The least you can do for the $900 I spent in your store. that's my guy. I'm acting but yeah, man. We've got. It's funny because my assistant, she created a base. We got this base logo, and we've been trying to figure out what to put it on. You know, put it on a patch with a hat. We did some with a shirt. It looked okay, but it didn't pop.
Yeah.
But I think we just found. I think we found the correct medium for it, and so all the bass players, I think they're gonna love it.
Absolutely. I very much appreciate that. And so like we said, we got the Funky Uncle Records pin, so y'all go check that out. And one more question, and then we'll have another session of One Take Go. We got a few people that stuff, and Gumbo is back, so we'll get him on.
Okay.
One more question, and this is what I ask all my all my guests is if you were to create your life soundtrack, how would you compose the music, and what point of your life are you emphasizing? It can be either goals, your struggles, or your personality. Go for it.
Ooh, boy, that's a deep question, bro. So I want to make sure I got it. Ask me the question again, so I got it.
If you were to create your life soundtrack, how would you compose the music, and what point of your life are you emphasizing?
Okay. So I guess I would probably, my origins, my childhood, from 72 to about 82, 80, maybe 83, and I'll tell you why. For an African American in America, that was the best time to be alive. It was post Jim Crow, pre-crack. And it was the music. If you go back to, between 74 and 82, I don't care what genre of music you're looking at. Blues, rock and roll, R&B, funk, pop. Man, it's classics. It's the best. It's when you had 20 musicians in the studio doing strings on Earth, Wind and Fire or Toto album. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Steely Dan. And also too, for me, 72, I'm in second grade, so I'm 8 years old. In 84, I'm 19. 84 is the beginning of the electro sound with Prince and all of those guys using synthesizers, drums and bass and all that kind of stuff. Electro funk, as they call it, or whatever. I'd say between 72 and 84, and that encapsulates everything that was great about the city that I grew up in, and even the country, man. Because I never had to sit in the back of a bus or drink out of another fountain. Never had any experience of that.
Right.
I never had to wake up every day and see an 8-year-old girl got shot, or 3 kids got shot at a birthday party. It was a simpler time. I didn't have to look in the newspaper and see citizens invading the Capitol because of their disagreements. And trust me, they had some crazy stuff going on back then, but it was a simpler time, man. People, never. I grew up in Holly Grove, which Lil Wayne is from Holly Grove. I had a grandmother that lived in the Magnolia Projects. I never heard gunshots. And another grandmother lived in the Desire Project. The only time we heard gunshots was New Year's Eve. When people would be popping out at about 11:15.
Right.
And everybody come do their thing. But it was a simpler time. Maybe I had no bills. You know what I'm saying? I had no cable. I had no credit score.
Right.
So and the music, man, and we were coming out of the late '60s, which saw RFK, MLK, Medgar Evers, and even Malcolm, and even JFK, get assassinated. And the late '60s, 68, 69 was a very, very tumultuous time in the country. By the time 72, 73 came, everybody was just ready to turn the page and be in some peace and some love stuff. And that's what you saw. Talk about the first time I saw a mixed band was Sly and the Family Stone. And he had a female playing trumpet. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I ain't never saw nothing like that. And it's like, we took it for granted because that's all we knew. We didn't think of it as something special. We just saw it as the natural progression of things, from the '60s or whatever. But when I look back now, man, it was the best of the last times, bro.
I can sort of hear the music as well, because I don't know, maybe it's watching too many time period projects, but one instrument I could definitely hear from that time period of like Jim Crow to the crack period or whatnot. The one instrument I always think about is the tambourine. That instrument seems to always be used in like time period films within like those that time frame. Either tambourine and electric guitar and bass.
And I gave you another one. As a black person, you got to be in the mood to watch a movie that's got some.
Oh yeah, the spirituals. Yeah.
Like, something that's a period like the 30s and 40s. Like, hold on, man. Am I in the mood to hear some? Because it's usually somebody that got hung, or they got messed over, done wrong, accused of something they ain't supposed to do, whatever. Whenever you hear that, one of my favorites in Atlanta, remember the Juneteenth episode?
Yep.
When Earl walked in and said, "Are they for sale after the party?" That's one of my favorite lines.
I gotta watch it again now.
Right.
I gotta watch that again.
That whole episode, they got some little gems, with the boats, the hors d'oeuvres and stuff. But
absolutely.
My soundtrack would be Sly and the Family Stone. It would be Earth, Wind and Fire. It would be the OJs. That's another thing too, man. The music that we came up with, it wasn't about I'm gonna do this to this N-word, or I'm gonna do this to this B or this H. It was none of that. It was all love songs, man. It was all about, baby, I want you. I can't sleep because I'm thinking about you.
Yeah. Love ballads, man.
I need you. Yeah, it wasn't like I need to get in the panties. It was like, man, come be my wife. I won't be with you forever.
Right.
it was that kind of stuff, and we took it for granted, man, because that's, you know, that's what we were used to hear. But now you listen to stuff, and they got some good stuff out there. I'm not gonna, you know, crap all over the new stuff.
Yeah.
But back then, man, it was just pure musicianship. You had to, you know how many people got cussed out like I did back in the 70s because they didn't know what they were doing. Now, man, you get a Casio or a MK, you know, MPK or whatever, and you could just go dim, 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 dim,
Right.
and that's you know. And look, some of it is hot. You know, some of it is like, oh yeah, that's bouncy. But when cats, I think what you put into something and what you get out, you know, and all of the time and all of the craftsmanship and technique that the musicians put into the music. I'm gonna send you a playlist that I created and sent to my friends recently, and it's mostly electronic jazz from the mid 70s to the early 80s.
Oh yeah, I gotta have that.
Yeah.
I gotta have that.
And cats, several people was like, yo, man, I needed this. People don't even listen to the radio no more, bro. When you're driving, what are you listening to? Your phone?
On Spotify, through my phone, but at times, I do listen to the radio sometimes.
Right. Just see what's happening.
Just to see what's happening. Yep. Especially when I'm on a road trip, going through different states, and you just turn the knob, see what's playing on the radio, see what new song I can find. Yeah.
Absolutely. Same thing, man. And so that, you know, but yeah. So if I had to do a soundtrack of my life, it'd be between 72 and 82, 84, and it would really just be about. I love the sound of kids laughing outside playing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then at a certain point in New Orleans in the mid to late 80s, playgrounds got taken over by the drug dealers. And so they weren't, you know, on a Wednesday night in the summer, I lived around the corner from the park, man. I could hear the crowd and children, people cheering and laughing. I'd go get a hot dog for 25 cents. I'd go get a snowball. I'd go get some nachos. You go to those same parks, and there's no more kids there. You know, I don't mean to get all OG on you.
Oh no. No.
But those of us who witnessed that and lived through it, man, we, you know, and everything that's going on, I'm not gonna put it on y'all generation. We've contributed to it. We all this together. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm not gonna say, oh y'all. No, man, we've let this thing get into something that's different. And things change and things evolve, you know. And there's, let me ask you a question, man. Who are you listening to right now, American? Because I know you all over the world.
Yeah, you're right.
It's gonna be like some German, Japanese group or something.
Right.
Who are you listening to right now? That's what you say is like next, or some next level stuff from America.
Oof. It's a lot, but as far as here goes, there was that one song from the 100. I like that artist. Let's see if I can look it up. But his song was called "Can't Pretend."
Can't pretend.
Can't pretend. See if I can get him up. Tom Odell. That was one of the artists that I found that I've been listening to him for quite a while. Sort of like a love ballad.
Okay.
And but mainly lately I've been listening to more Janelle Monáe.
Does she have anything new out?
Yeah, she released that song "Flow."
I heard about it.
The thing why I like that song is because ESPN, they keep previewing that song every time they show the basketball previews of the matchups that they're going to air, and they always play that song. And I work from home, and so when I hear it in the morning, I try to look up on Spotify one time, and turns out she hasn't dropped it yet. But I think she recently dropped it like last week, and so I was on it.
You know what? I got turned on by the NBA to a song. What's my man who played drums with Bruno Mars?
Ronson,
He's
Mark
actually,
Ronson.
no, not him. They actually, who Bruno collaborated with to do the old school album that they did.
Oh, I know you're talking about it. I can't think of the name right now.
He had that song, boom, ba-doo-doo, ba-doo-doo-doo-doo, doo-doo.
Yeah.
The NBA used to play that like about 4 or 5 years ago before it came out. My cousin Jeff, what up, cuz? You can't say
Yeah.
Sonic. The name of the group is Sonic. Yeah. Thank you.
Sonic. There you go.
Who's the brother who played drums in Sonic?
That I don't know his name.
You know when I call it. Hold on. Sonic drummer.
According to Wikipedia,
not Stephen J. Shelley.
He is best known as the longtime drummer of the alternative rock band
No.
Isn't it Stephen J. Shelley?
No, it's not him. These
Oh no, it's not him.
Man, what's the name of the dude?
Is it?
Who's
It's not Anderson .Paak, is it?
Anderson .Paak? That's it.
There it is. Yeah.
Anderson .Paak.
According to Wikipedia.
Yeah, that one. You know what song I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that song. Same thing, man. I heard it. I heard it in the NBA. You know, of course they didn't put the lyrics, but they had that little groove. I said, man, what is that?
Yeah.
What is that? I got it.
Yeah, Bruno is like one of the top artists from America that I listen to, and Janelle Monáe,
Yep.
and still Beyonce's and Jay-Z's.
Yep. I'm gonna tell you. What was the name of the song? Come Down. Is it Come Down? Yeah, Come Down.
Come Down. Yep.
Yeah. Man, that's funky. I love that.
I love it. That's what I like. I like Bruno's style, and the way that he's put out, recently.
Yeah, those cats, man. I like what they're doing, man. I like cats who take had their foundations, rooted in a traditional form, but then they bring it and they stretch it into next.
Yep.
I'm an old cat, man, but I love next, man. I love listening to some next level stuff. I don't try to wear the tight pants or I look like a Marino. some young man clothes, man, but I love the energy of young cats, man, pushing stuff forward, just pushing the boundaries.
And I will say one thing, and then we'll get into our one take go. Going toward the Japanese music, there's this composer. His name is Hideyuki Sawano.
Hideyuki Sawano.
Mm-hmm. And what I like about his composition, especially on the show Attack on Titans that I'm reviewing this season, he has a composition where on one part it's almost like a suite in this track. It's like classical epic composition, and then it transitions into this eerie, I don't want to say gothic, but eerie epic buildup of like choir and almost classical, but you have this electronic synth that sounds like a siren, and it's like this combination of like this natural sound and this synthesized noise just blending into each other, and then you have this female vocalist singing, and it's just so epic. And then by the time you get to the outro, then the drums come in and you have this hard rock type beat, the double kick and the crash and everything.
The drums doesn't come in until the outro.
Not the drum set. You got the more like orchestral synthesized drum.
Gotcha.
But the natural drum kit, when it hits you, I'm telling you, it's when you're listening to it with your headphones, it's like
right.
the double kick. Oh man, it hits naturally.
I want to give a shout out to Bass Heavy, man. I mentioned him earlier. I played the
Shout
band
out.
Soul Remedy with him. Bass is probably the most talented musician that I've ever played with. And whatever props people gave me as a drummer, like 50%, if not more, came from bass. Because bass, like iron sharpens iron, right?
Right.
And so when he joined our band, he instantly, he was a musical director, because he was the only person that was formally trained. And not only could he play jazz, he could play funk, he could play rock, he could play church, he could play rap. If it's music, if it's got music notes, bass is proficient in it. And bass, his patience and his understanding. Man, I was so green as a drummer, I didn't even know how to count us in. I didn't even know how to end the song. I didn't know how to end it. And this brother, who was like probably 10 years younger than me, instead of laughing at me or ridiculing me, he was all right, T, this is what we're gonna do. This is how you do, And he's a drummer. He was probably a better drummer than me, but we needed him at bass. But yeah, that's I want to give my props to Bass Heavy, who was one of the baddest cats to ever pick up an instrument.
Shout out. Well, all right. It's time for our last session of One Take Go. I see Gumbo is back, so hopefully this will work this time. And
Mr. Pierre, EP,
and my boy Tito, I know if you're still watching, get ready to come on, because I know you got a question.
I'm down for it, baby. Let's do it.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. Oh.
40 years.
No, man, you know what's up, T. This has been a long time coming, bro. I am so proud of you. All of these years, and it's like we've been on the freeway in LA, and you could have been on the 405 going
Right
north,
on
and I've been going south.
I didn't even.
And here you are, sir, Jeremiah, right?
How long?
Yes, sir.
How long you?
Nice to meet you. I am not Gumbo Daddy. That's a part of my life. I'm Ernest Pierre the Third,
Nice
and
to meet you.
I'm from. My mom's from Uptown New Orleans, where I was born at, and my father's from the Lower Nine, where I hang out at. You understand what I'm saying? And we're funky, okay? And you forgot to mention one instrument, and that is the saxophone. And I have two of them right over there, sitting quietly.
That's right.
Waiting to do. Yeah, and I still do my thing. I played in the quarters for Mardi Gras with my nephew and my brother-in-law, Kid Chocolate.
Yeah.
And I never had to miss my cousin Louis Armstrong, because my brother-in-law is Louis Armstrong contemporary.
Well, hello, bro.
Leon Brown.
You related to Louis Armstrong?
Yes, my grandmother's cousins with him.
I didn't know that.
Wow.
And so Terrence, when you mentioned Louis Armstrong, I was like, man, what is he doing? Reading my biography or something? But look, we in our bloodlines, and Terrence will tell you, we come from that little what they call little crescent city.
Right.
And
Right.
here we are. I live in Los Angeles now. My classmate Terrence Blanchard, who wrote some of the scores for Spike Lee, he's here.
Went to the same high school we went to.
Went to John F. Kennedy, yes. Which is, and when you look at X, that score for X is amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know his contributions, but I know he did More Better Blues, I think, right?
Yeah. I think he might have taught Denzel.
Jeremiah, I will follow you and follow your road, follow your vision and dream. I came here with just a box of clothes. And my life is no different. I still go into that same little box, and remember, that's all you need. And you need people like this guy sitting on this podcast right here.
How long have you been in LA?
Since 87.
Wow.
87.
I was there from 2002 to 2010. I lived in Koreatown initially, and then I moved downtown.
I followed part of my dream. I did get on the set, and you guys are always talking film, and I'm always like, wait a minute, these guys, hey, don't forget about me, TV, because I know my niche. You know, I know I did some stuff. I did Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman. I was a background player. I did a lot of different things. You know, I was on. The best thing I ever did was be a Negro ball player when they did the Ernie Banks episode on X-Files.
Okay.
That was my claim to fame. The way we threw, the way, people wound up, the way they ran and stuff.
This boy played quarterback for us.
Yeah, I played quarterback at JFK.
Oh, wow.
This guy, God is good, because I was pulling up in my driveway and it came on Terence Rosemore live. And so I signed on, and then I tried to get on before on your one tape. I apologize. Terrence, Jeremiah, I have some TV stuff that I would like for you guys to, think about. I know it's not your genre, it's my thing. I do TV. I like,
I'm open to all genres. I'm open to any genre.
And I've been trying to get with this guy to get my stuff, so we can sit down and have a cup of coffee.
Hey,
and we're from the same city, and we're going down the freeway in opposite directions.
DM me your phone number.
Okay, I will.
I'm gonna be out.
Jeremiah, you keep up the good work. Great work.
I appreciate you.
I went to New York. I went to New York, and I got out of the tunnel, and then I went up on Broadway or whatever. I've never seen so many people in my life. I almost ran back in the bus terminal. I don't know how y'all do it. You guys are large. And Terrence, DeVell Crawford, he played for my father's funeral. And Reginald Ville played Count Basie Orchestra. Jeremiah, these are just like regular people, like we're talking here, that we grew up with.
We went to
the fabric.
Reginald Ville used to be Wynton Marsalis' bass player, along with Amal Jamad. This cat.
Listen,
with everybody.
Yes, and we were in high school.
Let me tell you a crazy story about the first day I met. I'm a junior in high school. It's lunchtime.
Yeah.
Cats from the band came and got me.
Right.
Hawaii. Remember Hawaii?
I remember.
Hawaii and this other cat. Man, I don't even know these guys, man. I'm a junior. They was like, yo, come here. So they're like, they said, man, Bill, this your little brother? This little cat look just like you.
Yeah.
Bill said,
you guys do resemble.
Bill said, man, that ugly MF don't look nothing like me, and just kept eating his lunch.
Yeah. He could imitate voices. So he was our Morgan Freeman, in high school. This guy was amazing. And while Terrence was in the practice room doing scales all day long, because that's why he's so at the top of his game. Right. We had a jam session set up outside, and Reginald, he would get on the piano and start Mr. Magic, and there was no question that I was going to jump on Grover Washington's Mr. Magic, and we would play for an hour before.
Right.
And people were dancing in the hallway, and we got paddled back in those days. But
before they came and ran y'all the hell up out of there.
Yeah, Mr. Harris. We lost our band director recently, Mr. Harris, Walter Harris. That's who we all come from. And I want to say,
go ahead.
Huh? No.
Go ahead.
Before I just want to tell you about the music thing. He's right. We had such a great time. We had foundation. I mean, Mahalia Jackson comes from New Orleans.
Right.
Not just Louis Armstrong. The Neville Brothers, the Meteors, Dr. John. Dr. John, we didn't see color with things because we were respected because of Mr. Fats Domino, who lived in our neighborhood, who worked with my father, and people like that, Mr. Alan Toussaint, Wynton and Bramford's dad, Ellis Marcellus, and and it goes on and on. And now you, Jeremiah, you're carrying the torch. You're carrying the torch, and you keep the torch going. You lighten the torch. I don't care if you're not from New Orleans. You're from New Orleans now because you're talking to New Orleans cats now. You're honorary.
I had some gumbo, so I may as well be.
Yeah, I mean, and you're here with us now. And so I hope that this relationship never ends. And I want to tell you how much I appreciated your efforts, what your interest is, because he won't wear the tight pants. I'm the funky one in the crowd. I will wear the tight pants. Like I'm Cameo, okay? Because we had the best music. And he'll tell you, yeah, Ernie's crazy. He'll do it. And I will. So come to New Orleans next Mardi Gras and have him or myself go to Zulu Ball, bring your tuxedo, enjoy New Orleans, enjoy the culture, and congratulations on all your work and good luck to you in the future. I'm sure I'll see you again and talk to you.
Hey, bro.
Absolutely.
Next time I come through, I'm hollering, bro.
Bruh. Say, bruh. And that's another thing. You can hear we say, bruh. we say little Farley and all that.
He got that L.A. He's like, I'm from New Orleans.
Yeah.
Let me and him go back and forth about 2 or 3 minutes.
I just got back.
He gonna be baby.
Yeah, baby. Look, I just got back. And yes, Lord. We do that coming out the womb. We do that
Right.
because we still feel all the oppression, but we're here. I'm still standing. We're still standing. We're still walking with our heads down the street, head up, okay, not down. We have a lot to be proud of. My grandmother just turned 100 years old.
What?
On March the 3rd.
Happy birthday, Grandma.
Happy birthday.
We have a lot to be thankful for.
And hey, man, I met your sister years after me and you went to school together. She next door to my best friend, and your nephew is a drummer, right?
He's a trumpet player.
He switched. He's playing trumpet.
Well, he's playing. He can do Professor Longhair and Tipitinas and all of that.
But no, man. When I met him, he was playing drums.
He's a kid prodigy. Jeremiah, I want you to play with him.
Yeah.
Because he's only 14, but he plays with.
I still got my bongo set, so I'm down.
Yeah, he plays with trombone shorty.
Master repercussion.
Yeah. Say, look, bro. Hey, invite the funky man to do my thing. If I gotta wear tight pants, Terrence gonna wear them. Like I say, I will. Terrence, keep up the best work. Thank you. God bless y'all, bro.
Thank you, bro.
I just want to say, I'm gonna give me one of them bass shirts. I'm not biased against bassists because Reginald is a bassist. I'm gonna get that t-shirt.
One of the best in the world.
Yeah, and so. Bassist, I played with, like I said, during Mardi Gras with a stand-up bassist. I thought, you remind me. But the thing is, we must keep our art alive. We must keep it going. We all have canvases. We all have canvases. Okay, we've been on the train. We jumped off the train. We get the whips in the swamp. We've done all of this.
Amen.
We've done all of it.
Hey, bro, I just messaged you my text.
Thank you, sir.
Hit me back, and now we connect.
Thank you.
Mr. Ernest, it's been a pleasure meeting you.
Man,
very pleasure. I appreciate your words, absolutely, and your passion. I love it.
I hope you get in that passion because I mean it.
Hey, when you go to LA, hit me up and I'll connect.
Look, and I met both MLK's sons, and that changed my life.
Wow.
Dexter and MLK the third. It changed me. It changed me because I realized that, you know what, even though Mr. King, Dr. King is gone, he's still standing next to me, talking to me. He's still talking to me. So Jeremiah, continue. Congratulations.
I will. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Hey, who that, baby?
You have a good night.
Hey, good night.
That's a blessing, brother. Man, this dude,
absolutely.
Look, bro, we go even before high school. Hey, E, you still there?
I'm with you.
You remember when we first met?
Refresh me. I've been to too many,
don't say
refresh my mind.
William C. Claiborne Day Camp in Gentilly Woods.
My God. That was a weird place because my father would drop us off over there and we didn't know what the hell was going on.
Nobody else. Y'all was just good little kids from the east or wherever y'all came from.
And Terrence is ribbing me because my father was military, and so we traveled, but New Orleans was always based. Born and affiliated, associated, bloodline, whatever. Okay?
Yeah, but we met and we had to be about 12, between 12, 13.
I remember now, Terrence. I remember.
And then we didn't see each other until I got Kennedy.
Yes. But enough on us, Jeremiah. This is all about you, okay?
I'm enjoying this reunion. It's really nice. I love it. I love both of y'all's passions, and we'll definitely keep in touch as much, you know?
Yeah. And Prince was the master of funkiness. He was our funk. And when we graduated from high school, Prince took us to the next level.
Yeah,
and he came out here. Prince would come out here and he would do little concerts for 50 people.
Yep.
I will say real quick, I got to perform beside his saxophone player.
Which one?
He presided at Catawba College. Adrian. Yeah.
Well, as a percussionist?
Yeah, so
as a woodwind?
when I was playing bongos, he was playing saxophone, and we got to play Prince's tribute once he passed away.
Right.
And we got to play that on campus.
But Jeremiah, we're gonna get all three of us together and we're gonna play.
Oh yeah.
Okay? That's gonna be even more crazier, okay?
Look, you got my Instagram page, so feel free to message me, of course.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Hey,
Take care.
Thank you.
Hey, good night. Good night.
Good night.
For sure.
All right. Bryson, I know you had a question, so you can feel free to type that out in the comments. Tito, if you're still on, we're ready to get you on as well.
Sorry about that, Tito. I know you've been waiting for a while.
My boy Tito, he's dedicated. He'll wait all day if he wanted to.
I give him some love, but man, he was like,
No, that's dope. That's really dope.
What's my favorite cast to work with? Ooh, man, that's a good question. Let me think about that.
What's going on, you guys?
What's up,
There
brother?
he is.
Pleasure to meet you, Terrence. Thank you so much.
Likewise, man. How you doing?
Doing all right. Working hard.
I like the specs, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it. They're a little loose. I gotta get them fixed.
For sure.
Real quick, just a quick question I wrote down here. So, I'm a new actor. I'm coming into Hollywood. So what are some of the pointers, based on your personal experience, that you could give to a new actor coming into Hollywood?
Where are you right now? Where are you located?
I'm currently in Washington, Joint Base Lewis McChord. I'm currently in active military.
Okay. You're active military?
Active military.
Thank you for your service. Are you taking classes right now?
Classes? Not currently, no.
Have you ever taken classes or done any plays?
No, I have not. I've done a lot of background acting. I've been in a couple music videos, but other than that, I've actually one of the first films that I did with, shout out to the Rip Squad, was a little short called Out of Shape, and that one kind of, I knew I wanted to be an actor, but once I did that with them, and it just kind of like sparked that. It just sparked it up for me. It just let me know, hey, this is what I want to follow. This is what I want to do.
Don't forget Motorcycle. You were in Motorcycle too.
Yeah, no. As a background, I did Motorcycle as well.
Okay.
That was a fun project.
Well, this is what I tell you, Tito, man. Wherever you are, if you can find a good improv class to take, improv. Most people will tell you to take a scene study class, and the best way to learn how to do anything is to do it. So I would say do it, get in, go find a play, man. If you got the time and the schedule to do like a little church play, community play, do that. If you don't have a scene study, I'm not a big fan of scene study, but if you don't have access to theater, Then I say, okay, go do a scene study. But my definition of acting is being comfortable being uncomfortable, right?
Right.
And it looks easy on TV, right? When you're an extra, man, you see that whoever the lead is, man, I could do that.
Right.
But something about getting in the lights and then having to perform on command is different, bro. I thought the same thing too. First time I got on stage, I got cussed out by the cast because I came in thinking I knew it. Oh man, I could do this.
Yeah.
And I broke every rule of stagecraft. And
Wow.
so I thought, just me being a bubbly personality, I could get on. But it's like you got to hit a mark, you got to give a line, you got to do 4 or 5 things at the same time. That's why I like improv, because improv, more than any kind of other class, I can duplicate the chaotic, the chaoticness of a movie deal. I had a good friend. I'm not gonna call his name. I went to high school with him, and he had been begging me for years. Man, I'm trying to get movies. I gave him a little role. I gave him 1 line in my movie. I had to cuss him out to get him to get his mind right. And I tell you why. Now I don't think he had taken any acting classes or anything. But he was, telling me, man, I want to do this. So I was like, all right, cool. I got 1 line. He could do that. He ain't even got to walk. You just one place. You got to say this 1 line. And he's working with experienced actors. We got cameras. We got lights. We got people distracted. He's like a deer in the headlights. And so I finally, that was one of those cases where I had to pull my goon hand out. And I said, come on, man, you asked me to do this shit, and now you in here, and just, man, do shit like this. He did it, and all I needed was 1, right? All I needed was 1 good one.
Right.
He gave me about 2 or 3 good ones. And so afterwards, I was like, oh, there you go. Gave him a hug, coached him back up,
Yeah.
Didn't want to traumatize him. But again, I think people have a perception that what we do is easy. I know I did. Right. So learn some technique, learn the craft. Go take a class, even if it is a scene study. Reason why I don't like scene study is because usually they give you a script, and you go away with another actor for a week, and then you come back, and then the teacher will ask you questions. Why did you believe you? Why did you do this? And then the students, the other classmates will be. So the part when you did this and did on a movie set, that never happens.
Right.
What happens on a movie set is the director say, "Hey, Terrence, could you walk slower before you give that line? Hey, Terrence, could you turn your body about 3/4 camera right? Hey, Terrence, can you look on the other actor's face and see that shadow? So, in other words, if I'm here, there's a shadow. If I'm here, there's not a shadow.
Right, so usually you with the light
so
as
yeah,
well.
so all these little technical things. So sometimes I might have to be like this so the light can hit you. And so if I'm asking you for my MF and money, I'm not gonna be twisted to the left. I'm gonna come to you straight on. Say, man, where my FF and money? Where my money at? But for the scene to give you, make sure you got light, I gotta be cheating like this. Hey man, I still gotta get that.
Right.
So if my feet ain't right as a person, if I'm not grounded, I don't. You see what I'm saying? So now I gotta act like I'm grounded.
Exactly.
So it's all these little bitty tiny things. The devil is in the details that the average person doesn't see. So that's why go in and go do a play first and foremost, because you're gonna get reps and you're gonna get feedback. Blah blah blah. When you do scene study, unless you're working with somebody that's really really good, you're gonna get a lot of frustration because half the time you're just gonna be sitting around watching other people. So go do an improv where everybody's on their feet and the pace is fast and we're moving and we're going from exercise to exercise and there's no wrong. In other words, you feel free to make a mistake because sometimes mistakes are funny when you do improv, as opposed to you're so worried about the lines and then, and so go do improv, man. Get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Definitely.
That's one thing you can do.
That's
You know what I'm saying?
And I got my little bit, I got my taste of this when I was recently out in LA doing a film with the Big Sarge and the Rip Squad themselves. getting into that mindset. Excuse me, my daughter came in.
I never want to be on stage with a cat or a dog, because everybody's gonna be looking at the cat and the dog, and they're gonna pay attention to the same thing with kids.
So I got my taste of it. It's pretty insane because it's definitely a fantasy character. So for me to get into that mindset and that mental state of being a villain and like really like just being gruesome, something that I am not, you know, it felt weird. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It was just change.
We call it substitution. Think of the worst thing that anybody's ever done to you.
Right. Yeah.
Think of somebody doing something crazy to your daughter. You don't have to never share that with anybody.
Yeah.
Think of the worst thing that can happen to somebody you love.
Right.
And internalize that.
Right.
Then it becomes a little easier.
Yeah.
Because the thing about it, you never want to get caught acting. Right. You don't want to act like you're mad. You want to be mad.
Right.
For the 10, 12, 13 seconds. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
How many times people meet you as an actor, people say, especially women, they're like, well, you're an actor. So how I know you're not acting? No.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah. So it's not really I'm acting, man. I'm duplicating human behavior.
Right.
Is what we're doing. So if it's something that's happened to me before, a situation I've been in, it's easy. You know, I can do a recall. But if it's something that I've never been in, I've never had a pterodactyl rip my puppy out of my arm and fly away with it.
Yeah.
If that's got to happen in the movie, I need to find something to substitute for that.
Okay.
Substitution, right?
Right.
And it's your secret. It could be. I remember one time I did a show called Queen Sugar, and these people caught me stealing cane out of their cane yard from somebody who is their mortal enemy. And in the script, you know, from what I knew about the history of the show, this was a very, very deep offense. So I thought of what's the worst thing that I could do and feel bad about? Having an affair with my best friend's wife. I never told him this. I never told her. As a matter of fact, they're not even together anymore. They're divorced. But what I did was, if you go back and look at my clip of Queen Sugar.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
That was my secret. I always say, don't share your secrets with folks. Because sometimes it might be embarrassing. Sometimes the director or the other actor might say, oh, no, don't do it. No, keep it your secret. The only time I will reveal that secret is if I'm fighting for a choice. If the director say, no, I want you to do this. And if I got a really, really good reason to say, nah, man, this actually happened to me, and this is where I'm going with this, then they'll say, okay, they'll back off. That's the only time you should reveal your secret motivation, substitution to somebody if you're fighting for that choice.
Wow.
So nobody don't have to know whatever sick, crazy thing you thought of that somebody did your puppy.
Right.
Because you seem like a nice guy. Most people say, oh my God, I would never.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't think to do some.
But no, man, I remember I had a partner who did a documentary on gangs in New Orleans. And he had been in every neighborhood talking to cats who were killers. Some of them, half of them probably not alive anymore. And I said, hey, man, what's your definition of a gangster? And he said, a regular man stressed. Jay is not a gangster, right? But if you go into his house and you take his brand new $2,300 Apple laptop, and you sling it across the room, and he had just finished downloading all of the updates on his brand new deal, and you crack the screen on it, you see some gangster shit come out of it. You seem like a nice, cool guy.
Facts. Let
me go to your new pit bull puppy and kick him across the room. I see, I hate to use that example, but you see where I'm going.
Yeah. Or like reality.
That's what we call substitution. Yeah, the beautiful thing, bro, is that on YouTube there is a enormous catalog of videos from reputable people, not scammers and fakers and posers, but folks who really know what they're talking about. Uda Hagen, who will break down. There's a book called Respect for Acting. That was my Bible when I first started doing a play. And I was in the middle of this play, and I'm the lead. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And nobody on stage who was in the play believed in me, because I had to play a heavy.
Yeah.
And they thought that one of the more veteran actors should have had the role, so they didn't want me in. So what I did was I used that energy, but I didn't use it during rehearsal, because I knew if I showed my goon hand too soon, they were going to adjust, because they were more experienced and they were older actors. So I kind of shuffled around weekly. Yeah. I would give the director just enough for him to say he didn't make a mistake. But opening night, I became a different person on stage. My father and my girlfriend said I scared them, because they never scared them. Seriously, bro, that scared me.
That's exactly. I know. I could probably feel. I guess probably.
And I'll give you another thing. So, looking at you, you got the glasses, whatever. You look like a harmless guy, but no, man, you could be a serial killer. Opposites. In other words, if you to introduce you, say, hi, I'm Tico. What's your name? I'm sorry.
Tito.
Hi, I'm Tito. And you give me like a little weird look, that'll send a chill through me. You know what I'm saying? It don't take much, man. You ain't even, most people thinking, okay, I gotta do this to scare for you. You can come with a little silly ass grin on your face.
That's something. That's the one.
People will be like, ooh, he the killer. Ooh, that's creepy. You feel me?
Right.
Let's do it right now. Introduce yourself and put your hand out like you introduce yourself, Tito. Give me regular Tito. So just introduce yourself regular. Hi, I'm Tito.
How's it going? My name is Tito.
How you doing, Tito? I'm Terrence. Okay. Give me the weird, creepy Tito. Keep the glasses on.
Keep the glasses. I got you. I'm sorry.
Take a breath.
I might just use this.
And action.
Hello. My name's Tito.
All right, cool. And you wouldn't even have to change your voice. You wouldn't have to change nothing, dog. You wouldn't have to change nothing. You wouldn't have to say, all right, Tito.
Yeah.
So I'll do me. How you doing? I'm Terrence. That's regular. You doing it? Terrence. So, the difference?
Oh, yeah.
It was minute, right? It wasn't like a big from A to Z.
Major. Yeah.
It was A to G. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
So again, that's the stuff that technique and repetition will give you confidence to do, because you felt that, hey man, I'm this regular guy, I got to do something outside of myself. But the longer I do it, the more confidence, the less I'm trying to do.
Wow.
I first got in the game, I was trying to say, everybody think I'm nice, so I got to be this.
Yeah.
I'd have been around, I'd have been some creepy cats.
Yeah.
And kittens. You know what I'm saying? And so the older I get, the less I try to do. Almost like some Zen. Both of you guys saw Breaking Bad, right?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Gus Fring was the most calm, chilled out, lethal, scary killer in the history of television.
Right.
Giancarlo Esposito, and he never was, very seldom did you see him, rah, 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 rah. He was always, okay. You can remember when my main man went to the little chicken place first time, and he came, he was the manager, and he was like, ooh, that was scary.
Yeah.
That was scary, yeah. So that's my free lesson for the day for you, brother.
I appreciate that.
There you go.
I appreciate all.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, man. Good luck, man. Keep doing your thing, brother.
Will do. Thank you so much.
All right, brother.
All right, Tito.
Pleasure.
All right, and we got one more question from Bryson. We'll just address this and then we'll be done for the night. So he's asking, what has been your favorite cast to work with, and also favorite show you've been in?
Oh man, y'all crazy. I'll give you two, man. Guardians of the Galaxy. Of course, it was a big, super duper crazy movie, but everybody from the crew to every actor on there were cool. And you know, the crew. So I say Outer Banks and actually, my absolute favorite was my crew on the movie that I directed as a director. But as an actor, I'll say Outer Banks and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 and 3 because they're so professional, they're so cool, everybody's just wonderful. It's just like, you don't even feel like a big movie. You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
A lot of times when you're working with a big old $200 million, especially, I'm playing like these little bitty roles, whatever, and you're kind of like, afterthought or no, man. I remember on the first Guardians, we had like 12 Ravagers, main Ravagers. And I think each of us had like one guy who was there to assist you, whatever. So if I'm on my phone and I do like this, hey, what you need? And that was a beautiful, and part of it was because they want to keep everybody together. They want to know where you was because there's so many of us. So they want to make sure instead of us going to the craft services, hey, I'll get it for you. It was like, hey, what you need? Power, what color? And then it got to the point, man, where they just put big old things of Power right next to us. Big old ice chest, ice cold, every flavor. So you wouldn't have to walk 10, 15 feet when they say ready, and you're ready to go on.
That's dope. That's really dope. Well, Terrence, that concludes our show. That concludes another episode of the Playlist Shuffle podcast, our premier lounge talk. I really enjoyed our conversation. I enjoyed your passion and your words of wisdom. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in and those who joined the live. Ask your questions, give your comments, and your words of inspiration. I appreciate you all. And Terrence, please don't be a stranger. I feel like there's a lot more that could have been said, a lot more we could talk about, but you're welcome to come back anytime. Anytime. Feel free to come back.
Look, when I finish with you, I got to do a voiceover for a documentary. And so, it's all good. It'll probably be about 15, 20 minutes of work. But then after that, I'm off for the night.
I got you. Well, go on and we'll go you have yourself a good night, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you, brother. And Jay, keep up the great work, man. It's cats like you that's bringing us forward, not only, creatively, man, but just your spirit, your genuine love for the craft. I love to see young cats like yourself taking this seriously. You're not entitled. You look like you're willing to work for everything that you got. Thank you. Peace, Bryson 91. Love you, man. Thank you. Thank you too, Tito. But again, brother, thank you for this platform. I'm a fan. Anything you're doing, I'm down, bro. Whatever you need.
I appreciate you. And you've done a very well done as well. All your work you did, hell of a job. Hell of a job, well done.
Hey, man, at the end of the day, man, a job well done is the greatest feeling that you can get.
Absolutely.
Yeah, cool.
I agree. I agree.
Cool.
You have a good night.
All right, bro. I'm going to sing you that list too.
Yes, sir. For
sure.
I'm looking for it.
Good night, brother.
You too. Okay, everybody. I told you this was a big episode of the Playlist Shuffle podcast, our biggest yet. Thank you all for tuning in. God bless you, Mr. Ernest. I really enjoyed talking to you and having this high school reunion, hearing your stories and your seeing your personalities. It's just magic. This episode will be uploaded on Spotify, Anchor.fm, and YouTube. Put it out in a comment saying that if those who came on the One Take Go would like to have their screen shown on video, make sure you type in yes or no, so I know to either hide your faces if you don't want to be shown on the media. I'll talk as long as I can. Y'all just put that in the comments. But I got chills. It's chills of the conversations and the chills of the interactions and the participations for everybody. I can't appreciate y'all enough. A very special episode of the Playlist Shuffle podcast. If you haven't already, please follow this page. Follow my personal page. It's in my bio at jmalley_guy. You see the link in the bios of my link tree. You can see the Spotify link, the YouTube links, and all the other links I got on there. And be sure you're staying tuned for more episodes. This is season 3 of the Playlist Shuffle podcast, our premiere lounge talk special featuring bona fide filmmaker Terence Rosemore. If you don't know, now you know. And this has been your boy Jay Malley, and I'll see y'all next time. Y'all be safe. Y'all have a blessed night.